Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining today's live stream, or the first of today's launch live stream, because today, finally, is when I get to talk about and show you all the new stuff that is going to come in Capture One release 16.3. So it's not Capture One 24, 25 or anything like that, because now we have continuous updates. So the release number is Capture One 16.3. So that's what we're talking about today. So lots of things to discuss. Depending on the kind of photography you do, some might be huge to you and some will be smaller to you. But I guess the one that has the most, marketing buzz is AI masking, which we look at first. But there's lots of other features if masking isn't interesting for you, but I think for most of us it is. But there's still a bunch of other stuff which has a big impact to your work as well. So without further ado, we shall get into it. So let's just open up a picture and we can look at this tool over here, layers and masks. So this formerly used to be called just the layers tool, but kind of doesn't make much sense because this is where we manage layers and we create masks as well. So it's been renamed to layers and masks. So you can see that up the top there. The layout of this tool has been changed a little as well. So you might notice that these icons used to live along the bottom, but now we've got all the mask creation stuff at the top. Subject and background, we have a look in a minute. And then we've got our opacity slider sitting down here, and we've got a luma range button and a refine mask button down here. So you have more accessibility to some of the common stuff, right there in front of you. Oh, by the way, I should say, if you want to ask questions, I skipped a step, but most of you are pretty experienced in joining these, but you'll see the Q&A tab to the top right. Helen has joined me as well, so say hi to Helen as well. And if you've got any questions, please pop them in the chat. There is quite a lot of you just looking at the numbers, so if we don't manage to answer all the questions, then I'll just apologize on behalf of myself and Helen if we don't get to everything. She's got fast fingers, but it might not be possible. Just one question which has already popped up already. When is this going to be available? So general release is 1 o'clock today, Central European summertime. It's likely the download might be there a bit sooner. So you can bank on it being there at 1 o'clock Central European summertime, but you might get there a bit sooner. Okay, sorry for that segue there. So masking. Now, the various different ways to create masks are listed here. So we've got brush, magic brush, AI brush, linear gradients, radial masks, cloning and healing, and then different ways to erase masks, including an AI mask erase as well. But let's look at subject and background first. So the whole point of AI is to try and do things that are tedious and boring, and not to replace creativity in our eyes, at least. So we don't want AI to start editing pictures for you in the creative sense, but to take away some of the mundane stuff. So let's go ahead and hit subject, and then Capture One will analyze the picture and then create the subject mask. So if I press M on my keyboard, you can see the layer like so. So that's picked out a pretty nice layer. So let's go ahead and hit background and see what happens as well. So I'm sure you can guess, what's going on with the background mask like so. If we go ahead and look at display grayscale mask, you can see what the mask looks like. And just if I go in a bit close so you can see, around, the hair and everything like this, notice that there's a little nice bit of roll off or refinement. So it's not a super hard edge, but as I said, don't forget you've got access to the refine mask button. So there's no reason why you can't hit that and then moderate how much, additional refinement you want on top of that as well. But we feel it does a pretty good job. Now, it doesn't have to be a person. There was a few questions coming up of, well, how does it work with things that aren't people? Well, it doesn't really matter what the subject is. In AI's eyes, the subject is the subject. It doesn't matter if it's a person, an object, an object or a building or anything like that. So if we mask this building as an example, then you can see the mask. If we look at the grayscale mask, it's pretty nice. So, following nicely around those edges, subtle bit of refinement, which just means when you do go ahead and, throw in any different, adjustments or so on, it's not obvious that you've got this, super hard edge. Now, those two are pretty easy. I anticipate the question, well, that's simple because it's a very obvious subject background. So let's take something a bit more complex like this gentleman, because there's a lot more background stuff going on. So if we hit subject on this, and then you'll be able to see exactly what's created. Like so. So there's our mask. If we look at our grayscale mask, again, pretty nice. Now, yes, we could do all this manually, and it's still important to know how to do things manually, which is one of the reasons why we did a live stream a few weeks ago about different ways to mask, because this is just another additional tool you have in your set. Let's go to background as well. But if there are some errors or you need to do a bit of cleanup, you still need to understand how manual brushing works as well. And there's our background, like so. Pretty nice. So that's background and subject masking. Very, very simple. What if, let's just go for this one. I can't remember how this one masks, but let's turn on the mask first and hit subject. Again, this is a fairly complex one. She's sitting on a chair. Is this part of the subject or not down here? So there's our mask. If we look at, zoom in, there's just a little bit of chair that's snuck in there. But if I turn on the grayscale mask, it's actually done, a nice job, like so. But if we wanted to take out this little bit of chair that we can see here, then we can use, a manual brush. We could simply erase that. If I grab the AI erase, this icon up here over on the left, I can just hover over that part and this bit and then delete those bits of the mask. Equally, if we wanted to add this part in, I could grab our AI brush here, and we'll go into a bit more detail about how this works in a minute. And you can see preparing AI mask because it's just filling in this bit, and then we could add that little bit in like so if we wanted to. So, even if there is like a minor error or something like that, it's then pretty easy to just make some little tweaks like so, whether that's manually or using the additional tools that you saw. So Rupert says, I'd like to see trees against the sky. Well, let's just pick something kind of more complicated. Well, we've got a telegraph pole. How about that? So we've got telegraph pole with wires. Keep thinking there's dust on the image, but there's dirt on my screen. So that's not it. So let's reset this. Don't know what's going to happen with subject mask, but let's see, because this will be quite interesting, what is determined of the subject. Like so. So subject, according to the AI, is that, which is pretty nice. So we've got the train, like so, as our subject. But let's say you wanted to mask the sky, and I think, this is fairly fine stuff around, the telegraph pole. So if I make a new layer and I grab the AI brush, this one here, what happens is when you hover the brush over different elements of the picture, you get a preview. So I'll show you on this shot as well. You get a preview over what it's picking out in the image that we want to mask. So if I tap on the sky like so, and then the layer will be created, and then that's our mask. Now, obviously, we've got a little bit of an error here, so we can grab that, and then I can take that away as part of my mask. So in terms of, going around find stuff, you might find there's sometimes a little tiny mistake around those sort of things, but otherwise it's pretty clean. But if we look around the train and everything, it's followed that really, really nicely. So, but don't forget, you can make additional selections. We'll look at that with the brush in a second. You can erase stuff, you can add stuff in as well. So let's show you some other examples so you know what's going on. So let's take this guy for an example, and let's hit subject once more. And we'll see what's popped up here. So there's our mask. Now you see there's just a little bit of the handrail. So if I grab AI erase and just hover on the handrail and take that out, then my mask is fixed. So a combination of those two can work, really, really, really nicely. So don't forget you've got that at your exposure as well. Hair is the ultimate benchmark test. Yeah, hair is definitely, one that's tricky to mask around, but it works. It works pretty well. I mean, what do we have on this lady? So let's go up here and let's look at the top. Look at our grayscale mask. There we go. So you can see the hair. We've got some little flyaways there, which are captured nicely. This we could erase quite easily, but in terms of how it's picking up the hair, to avoid that helmet head look, which is the worst thing with AI masking, when you mask a head or something and then it just does that kind of rough cutout around the head, or you see some really bad manual masking, but those hair strands look pretty nice. I mean, if you compare the time that would have created your eye to do that manually to then do it automatically, it's already way, way faster. All right, let's keep going and I'll show you a bit more how the AI brush works. So let's take this as an example. So let's make a new layer, first of all. If you don't make a new layer and you use the AI brush, it will just add to that existing layer. So that's super important. So if I grab the AI brush and just hover on the picture, you'll see it says preparing AI mask. So then it's looking for different elements in the picture that we could mask. But if you find it's not picking out what you want, then you can also draw a box. So let's say I wanted to have this window. So if I just draw a box around the window, oops, my Wacom jumped, sorry. Let's clear that mask. So let's draw a box around this window like that. And now I've got a mask for that window, as you can see. Now, if I wanted one for this little window, I could just additionally draw around that. And then now I've got a mask for the whole window. So if I wanted to kill down exposure, then I could do so. So boxing will allow you to draw around, a group of things that either to save time. So if I show you this example on here, so let's make a new layer once more. So you'll see as I hover on the barn, so it's picking out the roof, it's picking out, these different elements. Now, if I wanted to mask the whole barn, it would be a bit tedious, if you know what I mean, just by clicking all these bits and pieces. So if I just draw around the barn like so and let go, then we've masked it. Oops, sorry, come on, M. Then we've masked it in one hit, like so. So that's, a real critical function that you need to be, aware of, that rather than painstakingly, clicking on a bunch of different elements, that just box around something and then you will pull it all together. So super important. I'm just looking at some of the questions. Is the mask going to prove as well and give real parts like face, leg, shirt? Well, you can do that already. So let's go back and look at something like super granular. So right now, let's make a new layer. And you might find when you're using this brush that it's easier to see the mask if it's a different color. So I tend to make it a bit more layering. So if we go into, where is it? Appearance. Mask color by default is like a 50% red. So let's go and nuclearize it a little bit. And then now when I hover on the picture, then you can see the different mask areas. Now, if you want it even brighter, so let's go ahead and make it a bit more obvious like so. So now we can see our mask areas. So right now at this resolution, so at fit screen, I can pick out this bit, I can pick out arms, I can pick out the face. So this was, can't remember whose question, sorry. So I can pick out, relatively big objects, okay? Now, just to make you aware in case you didn't understand, first of all, the mask you're seeing here is a quick preview. So if the edge looks a bit off, don't worry, because the actual creative mask is going to have a better refined edge like I showed you before. But really important, pay attention, listen carefully. If you zoom in, you'll see that very quickly it said preparing AI mask. So now I've got there it is. So now I've got a higher resolution map that I can play with. So now at this level, I can pick out this bit, I can pick out this little bit of hair, and so on. If that's still not good enough, I can zoom in again, like so. And then what will happen is at a certain zoom level, now preparing AI mask. So if I want to go in and pick out an eye or a nostril or something like that, then I can do so. So it's really wholly dependent on how close you're zooming in as well. So if I tap on her eye like so, then it will make that mask. If I wanted to add this eye to it as well, then you'll see it's just re-preparing like so. Then I can tap on that one, and then it's made that mask as well. So it really is wholly dependent on, that looks a bit freaky, wholly dependent on your zoom level, the granularity that you want to go in and pick out those small things. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Remember, if you've got a question, pop it in the Q&A, because it's hard to keep up with the chat scrolling past. And Helen, my colleague who's joining, is doing her best to keep up with the Q&A. To change from the brush to boxing, it's the same cursor tool. So if I grab this cursor tool, let's just clear the mask. So if I just draw with that cursor tool, then the more I draw, the more stuff I include in the mask, like so. So that boxed around that and included that section. Same for the AI arrays. So this guy up here, you either hover on the section that you want to get rid of, and the color is shown as the complementary color to your mask. So if we wanted to take the shirt out, I could tap once like so, and now the shirt is gone, and then it's just left with her head. You can get, super granular to what you want to look at. So once again, if we grab the AI brush, now you see I can pick out the train, I can pick out the sky, we probably can pick out the bits in between the tracks and so on. If we wanted something, super teeny, I don't know, like the letters or whatever. So if I zoom in a bunch, whoops, like so, then it will prepare the AI mask. And you see now I can, if I tap once, I've got 4, 3, 3, 7, like so. So you can go into I don't know if I can get rid of the middle bit of the 4. Let's see. So the more you zoom in, the high resolution mask you got. So no, not in this case, but that'd be easy to draw out anyway. But you can go into, those really, really fine details. So if I wanted just this light as an example, I could box around that. So that gives me that. I could probably box around the whole thingy like so, and that gives me that, and so on. So you get the idea. So pretty awesome, I think you will find. Just saw a question flash up from George about tethering. Yeah, I'll show you something along those lines in the middle. What happens if you first turn on the mask for the background? Not sure what you mean by that, Mikhail. Barbara, who says, I can't find layers and masks because the download isn't available yet. So general release is 1 o'clock Central European Summertime today. The download might be a little bit earlier, and what you're looking for is Capture One 16.3. It's not called Capture One 24 or anything like that because we have continuous releases. So the build is 16.3. Okay. All right. Are we done with AI masking? Oh no, let's pick out. I know there's bird guys as well. So let's see what. This is a really interesting example. So let's hit subject and see what happens. And this is tricky because, there's a lot of fine detail on feathers and so on. So that's our mask. But what if we don't want the branch? AI minus, like so. Hover over the branch, 1 click, away we go. And then that's our mask that we're ended up with, which is, a pretty nice, accurate mask. Yes, I could draw that manually. Would take me longer. Can still get a good result. If I need to clean it up manually, I can do so. But you can see, what I can also delete from this mask as well. So now I've got the ability, we could brighten this little guy up a bit, add some clarity, maybe a bit more saturation, and so forth. Now, if I zoom in, so let's zoom into a rather ridiculous amount. Let's make a new layer. Grab this one, so it's going to prepare the AI mask. And then you'll be able to see the kind of detail. So if I pick his eye, and then we could open up the shadows, like so. Easy peasy. So I hope you can see in conclusion, subject, background, doesn't matter what it is. You know, it's not weighted to people, it's not weighted to objects or cars or whatever. You know, it is the subject, whatever that might be. Now, obviously in a picture that doesn't have a clearly defined subject, you know, you're better off in using the AI brush just to pick out what you want. Like in this example, I don't know what, I haven't tried subject on this, because immediately when I look at this, let's say if I want to add some more contrast or clarity in the center here, I'm not going to pick subject. I've never tried subject on this, so let's actually see what happened. As this is, you know, it's pretty two-dimensional. So the subject's not bad, actually. So that's picked out that part, which is the subject. That's quite cool, actually. So if I refine that a little bit, so we've got some nice, you know, fade off, then I can go ahead and add my clarity and saturation into that part. What I did actually do in reality, let's just delete that one, make a new layer, grabbed my AI brush, this guy, and then just, you'll see if I hover on the center, then it just picks out the water quite nicely. So one tap, show you the grayscale of that. That's pretty nice, I think. That's literally just the central part. And then I can add my additional clarity and saturation and so on. So subject, background, don't obsess with what the actual subject or background is. As you can see, even on something weird and obscure like this, it does pull out the perceived subject. But if it's not immediately obvious what that could be, then just go ahead and use the AI brush. Any subject or background mask can be used in combination with the, you know, adding to it. So if you've done a subject but it's missed a bit, then you can add a bit more in, or if it's done the subject and there's too much, then you can take a little bit out, like you saw with this guy. So, do you think our AI is better than the competition? It was just a question that glanced past my eye. Yes, actually, and that's not because I'm just making it up. I did, probably about 3 weeks ago now, I did a little bit of testing on some relatively easy subjects. So around churches which had like spires with the little knobbly bits on it from Iceland. And compared to the competition, what I do find is that Capture One does a better job of going around complex objects as opposed to, you know, the helmet head look, or just missing around those, you know, small parts. I mean, if we look on this barn, for example, and we put that layer on, and then we go down to, you know, this level. Whoops, sorry, that's a pretty nice attempt. And as I said, look, you know, if there's any bits that you want to add, just grab your AI brush and then just box and just add a few bits in. So if I wanted those parts there, or if I wanted these rocks in the foreground, once it's prepared the mask, sorry, as I'm at high resolution, then I can just box around it and, you know, fill that stuff in. So I really think, you know, that combination of subject, background, AI brush for pointing at stuff, AI brush for boxing, and that AI minus for perfecting, it's a really powerful combination. So if you have a subject mask that doesn't work out, you know, build on it from there or take away from it from there. So it's very rare I've had a situation where I haven't been able to build a pretty nice mask just based on those tools alone. For those of you asking about layers, the max number of layers, yeah, currently is still 16. There might be potential to increase that in the future. It's just, as always, a balance between performance and flexibility. So, cool. You had enough of AI masking, or do you want any more? It's not related to the internet connection. So no, it's not. It's not us sending data to a cloud or anything like that. You do not need an internet connection. So the AI modeling is based inside Capture One. So no, you absolutely do not need an internet connection. We're not sending any image data to any cloud or anything like that. It's not the case. So no, you do not have to be connected. Let's do one more. So let's just reset these, grab the AI brush. Let's say we just want the middle train car for one reason. If I box around that guy, like so, turn the mask on, job done. And look, you know, little bits like that, if I want to just tap and add that in, then I can do so, or I can just probably box around it and just fill that section in too. So easy peasy. Any of you can do it. So it works, you know, really, really nicely. One thing I wanted to show you, like, you know, in combination with the style brush, was it on this picture? I think it was this picture. So let's say, where are my style brushes? First of all, down here, built-in style brushes, enhancements, deep sky. So if I want to do deep sky on this particular image, so I've grabbed my deep sky style brush. I'm going to draw on the shot, and then that's the effect that deep sky gives, and it's given me my deep sky layer. But to do deep sky on this is kind of a bit annoying. So if I just grab the AI select brush and hover on the sky and tap once, ta-da, deep skied quite nicely on everything. Pretty good, huh? So if you're using style brushes, there's no reason why you can't combine it with an AI mask as well to help you. But don't forget, you've still got Magic Brush. You've still got a manual way to create masks, which is great for dodging and burning. You've still got a normal eraser and a magic eraser. I think that's why, because I picked out this particular shot. So if I reset this and we grab our AI mask, so I can pick out the face quite nicely. So if I just tap once, we've got our face mask, for want of a better expression, which works quite nicely. Let's reset that, but it's struggling a little bit to pick out just the headdress, whatever you want to call it. So if I do that and select, and I grab my AI minus, then I can take the face away, and then I can take that bit away, that bit, and this little bit, and there we go. So use the tools in combination, whether that's brushing, masking, magic brushing, and so on. It's totally possible to do that. Okay, copying masks across multiple subject background kind of detection. Currently you can't do, but what you can do is this. So let's say we've got our, let's do this from the start. So I didn't want to do that. Oh, case in point, I want to reset everything except the crop. This is a new thing. So we've got reset, reset the crop, reset everything except the composition. So cropping, keystone adjustment, and so on. So that will reset everything except my crop. So that's a new feature, which is small, but actually massively handy. So let's go ahead and do subject and background in a second. So there's our subject. You saw that one already. Let's do background as well. And let's do a couple of adjustments on it. So on my subject, I'm going to brighten it a bit and have it warmer and add some more contrast. I'm just throwing in stuff for the sake of it, and open up shadows. And then on our background, we're going to drop saturation and contrast down and darken it a little bit. Okay. And what we can do is save that into a style. So if I go ahead and say save custom style, you'll note that under layers, we've got a background mask and a subject mask. So this is the name of the layer, and this is what it actually is. So it's an AI background mask. So we can now include that into the layer itself. So if I go ahead and save, and then I'm going to call this, oh, actually, we want it to get rid of crop. We don't want that. That's why that warning popped up. So we don't want to really save crop as part of the style. So now I'm going to call this subject and background, whatever, AI or auto pop, because I've done some adjustments too, and we're going to save that. So now if we go to another shot, let's grab this one as an example. I don't think there's any adjustments on this. And then I go to my custom styles, and you can do this on a batch. So if you want to pre-prep, a bunch of images with subject background masks, this is the way to do it. So currently the copy and apply doesn't work, but that will come as far as my understanding. But right now you can simply do this. So if I apply that style, the picture is going to be analyzed for subject background, create those layers, and do the adjustments on top of that. So now you can see if I look at the layers, we've got our subject mask and our background mask like so. Now my subject mask has a couple of things I don't like. So if I grab the AI erase and zoom in a bit, then I can take out this bit here on his arm, jacket, whatever you want to call it. So I can get rid of that, like so, get rid of that. And there's a little tiny bit there, so get rid of that. And I think there's a little bit inside here and so on. So again, we can finesse it as much as we need to. Oh, someone asked about hair, didn't they? So let's go ahead and just clean up that last remaining bit. So we can just fill in that section. And if we look at the hair, there you go. So it's definitely not helmet heady, that's for sure. But that subject, that ability to apply the subject background, easy peasy. So you can do that on a batch. So I hope that answers your question. Like that, oh man, reset crop is appreciated. Yeah, exactly. It's often the small things like that which are really, really, important, definitely. All right. So I'm just looking at your questions. Helen is, oh my goodness, Helen's fingers are going to be on fire. So she'll do her best and get to everything. But yeah, hopefully for the hair people who asked, that's a pretty good assessment. And remember, it's refined. So even though you've got these tiny bits here, there's such a small part of the mask that you're really not going to see that effect on the shot. But those little flyaways, pretty good, really. And of course, you can always fix that further if you wish to, refining more and so on. There's nothing worse than having a really hard edge mask, because a lot of the time it's just really obvious what you've done. All right, that's probably enough on AI masking. Let's talk about some other stuff, because there's probably people on here who are interested in looking at that as well. Oh, that's quite a good example around the telegraph pole. See there? Someone was asking about trees. So yeah, has cut around that quite nicely. All right, what's next? Smoother brushing. So this is a small thing just added to the Mac. So if I make a new layer, this was already the case on a PC. But what you might find was that when you were brushing masks, is that they were a little bit like stuttery, I guess, not very smooth. So that's been improved on the Mac platform. So that's a small thing to mention. Another little layers features here, so we're just finishing up the rest of the layer stuff, is that you can duplicate a layer, so that will copy the mask and the adjustments and create another layer, which is super handy in lots of situations. So in summary, layers and masks has had quite a lot of work done to it, additionally to the AI masking goodness that you've seen already. Another little note, this Luma range box. So currently we've made an improvement on the Windows build, which means that even when the Luma range dialog is open, you can zoom in and pan around and do all the other stuff that you can, because right now it locks everything. So that's been added to the PC build, it will come to the Mac. Okay. Retether. Okay, let's talk about retethering. So what's retether? I can't demo it easily in the small space I am in here. So what I'm going to do is roll you a little bit of videotape. So essentially what retether is, and it's available for Canon and Nikon currently. We will investigate more camera manufacturers as we go on, but it's only for Canon and Nikon. So what it means, you can shoot tethered. You can pull out the tether cable from your camera. You can shoot more pictures. And when you plug in the cable, it will then pick up from where you left off and import those into Capture One. So let's just run this little bit of video. So camera coming out. Camera is now no longer connected to Capture One. So photographer, this is Ajatu Shaw, who shot some campaign images for us. She can continue to shoot. Maybe you want to go in tighter and the cable's not long enough. Maybe you want to pull back for a BTS or something like that. Cable goes back into the camera. Camera is obviously detected in Capture One, and then the rest of the pictures that were needed or that were shot then get imported into Capture One. Now, the important thing is, and it's just missed it on the freeze frame. I wonder if I just scroll back a little bit. There we go. So if you look right just to that part, you see it says applied adjustments. So it's not just a simple import of pictures. It's importing them. It's applying the previous adjustments just as if you had been tethered, and also the capture naming as well. So yes, while this was theoretically possible before, you had to physically do an import process, copy paste the adjustments, do renaming as well, which was all a little extra work. So this way you've got the freedom to pop out that cable, bang off some extra shots, stick the cable back in, and carry on where you left off. You can shoot for, we recommend, about 2 hours untethered if you wish. I mean, we don't anticipate anyone's really going to do that. It's more for a quick pull out the cable, do some detail stuff, pull back for BTS, whatever, have some freedom to move around the studio, plug back in, everything picks up as normal. So that's pretty nice. Ponta says, retethering, so smart, which is, yeah, it's really nice. I see a few of you mentioning other camera manufacturers. We will definitely going to investigate that. The reason why it may or may not come to some is how the manufacturer implements the PTP protocol, which is how we communicate with the camera. So for Canon and Nikon, it was relatively, I mean, I don't mean to belittle the clever engineers who did it, but relatively straightforward. As we look at other manufacturers, it might be a case of, hey, camera manufacturer, we'd love to add this feature, but it requires you to tweak X, Y, Z a little bit. So we will do, obviously, our best for all the manufacturers, but it might require, applying a bit of pressure to some of those as well, which you can also do on our behalf as well. But it's super nice. Yeah. Yeah, I'm reading your comment, so it's really nice as well. Ryan says, is that able to be disabled? Will it just copy everything on the card? Yeah, so in Capture One, let's go to our preferences. If you don't want that to happen, excuse me, here we go. Fetch images from card on USB reconnect. So 1, you need to have a card in the camera. 2, obviously you have to have that ticked as well for it to happen. It should be on by default, but just have a look. If it's not working, A, make sure you've got card on the camera. 2, make sure retether box is ticked. 3, make sure you have a Canon or a Nikon camera. And then with all those 3 things, then you'll be able to retether, which is super nice. Gerardi says, does that mean the photos in Capture One are also on the card? Yeah. That's been an option for a while on Canon, Nikon, Fuji cameras, some Sony. It's a little bit different on the manufacturer where they list it in their menu, of course. No 2 manufacturers are the same. But generally now on pretty much any modern camera, you can tell Capture One to record to card and record to disk as well. Canon, it's you can find it in the settings in Capture One on the camera settings, and for Nikon, pretty much you can do the same as well. Sony escapes me, but it is there. It's just sometimes harder to find in the menu system. I don't think any camera manufacturer probably, has really nailed the super nice, clean camera menu interface, but I'm sure we get there. All right, what's next? So that's re-tether. So super nice. Now, in conjunction with that, it was kind of shown in the video. Actually, if I run it again, let me just speed through this a little bit. Let's see. So as pictures are coming in, keep an eye out on the eyeball on the left. And notice how it updates and sticks to the face, which is really nice. So that's our snap to eye feature. So if we go back to Capture One, I need to change collections, and let's go to the top of this picture, and in our focus tool, like so, let's just go to the top. There's a new pull down menu called center to eye or center to face. But if we have it on center to eye, now note as I go through these pictures, we remain on our subject's eye, even though she is moving around a little bit. Like so. Now onto another set of pictures, so her eye's in a completely different place, different picture again, also not super sharp, it's got some motion blur but still picks it up. This one, notice her eye is closed and it still detects that too, which is very handy. This guy, so he's pulled a bit further back, so if it's pulled further back and we can't actually reach 100% magnification or like the full eye, then it will just show the view at 100%. So we're always looking at 100% pixels here based on what you've set in the focus tool itself. So moving through like so, now obviously he's a lot further back. So we're just seeing his face. Now there, obviously there's no eye because there's a shoe. So it's just in that case, it will miss those kinds of things. So we do need, visible eye in the picture to actually snap that through like so. If you want to look at faces, so let's go back to our headshot. So maybe eye is too close, we can switch that to face, and then we can drop the zoom level down a bit. And then as we go through, then we can see the whole face like so. Now this tool, important to note, it is actually a floating tool. So if you want to make it bigger and have that on a secondary screen, obviously at a higher zoom rate, then we can do so. And if you're looking back and forth between two pictures, that bigger view is cached, so we can flip back and forth, and then we don't have to wait for any rendering or anything like that. So do remember this focus tool is one that you can jump out and make much bigger as well, which is nice. If you don't want it to center to face all right, you can turn that off. And then it will behave as normal, and then you can just move it around wherever you like as well. So focus tool, really handy. Small, tiny thing, but also when you're shooting tethered, if you're working with, digital technicians, someone operating Capture One, or you're on the studio by yourself, then of course shooting and being able to glance over, check that it's sharp without having to run over and zoom into 100%, or a technician frantically moving the focus window around all the time is not a nice experience. So you can have the viewer at fit screen, so you can see your subject for expressions and so on. Focus tool set to eye, so then you can see expression and focus at the same time, which is really nice. Philip says, is this available for reviewing images on import? Yeah, it's been there for, a while now. So if you look at the cull mode, this button up here, then we've got face focus like so. So this is also available in the import window. So face focus setting, we've got limit to face or limit to eye. So we've had that since, memory escapes me, a long time anyway, probably since 16.2, I think, whenever that came out. So yes, this works on the import viewer, or you can press that cull button at any point and you get the same experience. We've just brought it into the focus tool because that's the obvious place to put it. Yeah. Cool, nice one. So that's, yeah, really useful, handy feature. How are we doing for questions? Probably overwhelmed. So Helen's doing her best. If several people are in a frame, how does snap to eye work? It goes for the largest eye, as far as I understand, or the most prominent eye. So it's the same for cull mode. In a group of people on cull mode, you'll see all the eyes. But as the focus window is, one eye or one window, then it will go for the most prominent, largest eye. Okay? So I hope that helps. Any noticeable performance issues with the extra AI? Not really. I mean, depending on the speed of your computer, it will have an impact on how long it takes for the AI mask to prepare and how many megapixels the image is. This is a 50 megapixel shot, I think, and that was relatively quick. This is an M1 Mac, it's not an M2, so if those of you on M2s are going to enjoy a bit of a performance boost as well. Here's a good hair curly example as well. Let's actually do a subject mask on this one out of interest. Yeah, so performance is, going to be computer dependent. So there's our subject mask. Again, no helmet head, kind of nice separation around the little flyaways there as well, which is nice. And again, you can always improve on that manually with the AI tools or whatever. So the bit beefier the computer, the faster that's going to work. But as I said, this one is nope, sorry, wrong menu. So I'm not on the latest and greatest. This is an M1 Max 2021. So obviously any M2s, studio computers, studio ultras and so on, it's going to be quicker as well. All right, what's next? Can you turn AI off if it slows it down? Well, AI is only going to be working if you activate the AI brush or if you turn on subject and background. So look, if I'm on the pan tool as I go through these shots, no AI prep is happening. There's nothing active AI whatsoever. When I pick the AI brush, you see immediately preparing AI mask comes up. So it's not something you need to disable, it's by choice. And of course, always consider, even if you do have a slow computer, see, I can pick out individual stairs there. Even if you do have a slow computer, it's likely to be faster creating an AI mask, which you can then finesse if needed, rather than drawing it manually. So I don't think you're going to really suffer with any performance side of things. What's next? Capture on Live. Okay, I need to switch to a different collection. Capture on Live, which if you don't know, is a way to share a collection online. So for review purposes. So for those of you who've got a mobile phone with you, if you scan that little code, what you're going to see is, if I just go into share online, I'm pre-sharing this collection. So this is a link. So that QR code is simply going to take you to a link, which looks like this, like so. And the difference with Capture One Live now is that previously you can only, or previously you could only share one collection of pictures, like one album or one folder. Now notice I'm in a Capture One session and I've shared the entire set of session favorites, which I can do by right-clicking and saying share online. So if I right-click on session favorites, it's going to share all of these folders as part of my session. Now, if you're not into the session workflow as yet, a session is just a different file management system compared to working with a catalog. So if you're not aware of what a session is, let's actually look at it. So you have a capture folder, an outputs folder, a selects and a trash, and it's all nested in one master folder. And then a session favorite means that I can create additional folders, and in this case, capture folders, which I've then added as session favorites by dragging and dropping them over to that spot. And by right-clicking on the session favorites title here, I can share the entire thing online. So if you scan that QR code, or if you're not able to scan a QR code, I will put the link in the chat, like so. So you can click on that link if it is clickable. Yeah, it is. And then now what you can do is you can navigate. Let's go back to Safari. You can navigate the different shop folders, like so. Now I've set this permission level for you guys to only view. So you can't change the star rating or anything like that, but you can double click on a picture. You can zoom in to check for details. Obviously we can scroll through like so. It just gives your client the ability to see the contents of an entire session in one hit without having to share them, multiple links to multiple different collections like so. If you are enjoying browsing through this session, take a look at this picture. So if you go to, what is this, shot 2, I think? Oh, shot 1. So if you go to shot 1 and look at the man on the bridge up here and click on this little comment bubble, you'll see comments come up as well, like so. And what's been added to Capture One is, if we open the comments up here, comments now relay back into Capture One. So if me as the photographer, what do you think of, what do you think of this one? I can send that up. If we go back to Capture One Live, then you see the comment channel is right up here as well. What we can do, of course, is have comments come back. So I mean, there's hundreds of you watching this, so I didn't open it for comments because it might get a little bit crazy, of course. But if I was to change the access here, so I can change the access to those of you with a link to tag and comment, rate, tag and comment, and so forth. So as soon as my client rates, color tags, whatever, put something on here, then it will come straight back to Capture One, which is super, super nice. Michael says, it's not Denmark, the sky is blue. Yeah, that was my little joke there to my Danish colleagues. Is this available in the normal license? So in the normal license, there are some restrictions. So in the normal free version of Capture One Live, you can only share one collection for 24 hours. So it will not give you the ability to share a nest of folders like this. So if you want to share a whole nest of folders, then you need to upgrade. Two things you can do. You can add Capture One Live to your license by going into captureone.com into your profile and adding it. You can upgrade to the all-in-one subscription, which gives you Capture One Live, Capture One Pro, Capture One Mobile. This comment process is also going to come to Capture One Mobile today as well. So if you're using the iPad or your iPhone for working in Capture One Live works there too. But the paid for version means that you can, excuse me, the paid for version means that you can share multiple links, you can share this nest of folders, and they also last, if you look at the expiry date here, I kicked this one off a couple of days ago, or yesterday, I think, lasts for 30 days. So the free version, 24 hours, one collection only. Paid for version, multiple collections, lasts for 30 days. So important distinction between the two. And of course, comments coming back into Capture One. You also get a notification if anyone reviews, rates, so on and so forth. And then just if, again, you're new to how this works. So I share with you guys on that QR code the anonymous link. But I can also invite people via email with different levels of access. And then obviously as the comment thread grows, I can see exactly who is commenting on each individual picture. So I could invite multiple people into this session favorites with multiple different kinds of access. So if I just want to share someone, makeup artist, yay, here's what we did today, check these out. Client, I'm going to give them full access so that they can rate, tag, and send comments as well. So lots of control that you can do. And of course, at any point, I can stop sharing and kill off, that Capture One live session. I can add a watermark too, if I wish. So if you're worried about, image theft or whatever, it's not the full raw file. It's just a preview that we upload to Capture One's cloud. So they're not getting the full raw data. It is color managed as well. So if I was to, adjust this picture like so, and then we go back here, see already it's updated. So if I brighten this guy up, then you'll see straight away. So you are seeing how the picture looks. So even if I go to black and white, turn black and white on, there we go, like so. So they are seeing a real-time output of what's going on in Capture One. So they can follow along with you. They can also, if they wish, hit these little binoculars. And then if I'm shooting tethered, then it will simply update Capture One Live with the current tethered shot. Or if I'm editing, they will follow along with the edits as well, but it is super speedy. Comments can't be edited. I saw a question come up. So currently, might change in the future. So yeah, just be aware of your spelling mistakes. But no, you can't. You can't edit a comment right now. So that is Capture One Live, which is a pretty awesome addition to Capture One. So any of you that require some kind of client proofing, whether that's on a grand scale with several different people, or simply you've done a bunch of headshots, like I showed in the previous example, rather than having to export JPEGs, send them a bunch of JPEGs, see which ones they like, then go back and find those in Capture One. The fact that, your reviewer can go in and change star ratings and color tags, and that is immediately shown in Capture One, is a big bonus. And it doesn't have to be running. Capture One does not have to be open. So if you want to send your Capture One Live link to your client, shut down Capture One, go about your business, let them do their approval, commenting, rating, or whatever. As soon as you open Capture One again, it will look at the cloud. The cloud is the source of truth, and pull down any ratings, comments, whatever, which have since been changed on those pictures. So Capture One does not have to be open. So you can use it in real time for feedback. You could use it in the same studio if you wanted, as long as there's internet connection, or you can use it in these remote situations as well. But either way, it's a fantastic addition as a collaboration tool. You can't share the live video, Johan, sorry. Yep. All right, what's next? There's still more. There is still more, people. Let's stick with this picture. Why not? Looks good in black and white. I agree. Aidan said. New preview format. So you might not be aware, but this is the same for pretty much any RAW converter out there. When you import pictures into Capture One or shoot tethered, we create a color managed preview of that picture. So when we're looking at pictures in Capture One like this, we're not actually having to read any raw data. We're just looking at a preview. And it means you can browse nice and quickly with no delay or anything like that. Only until you get to a certain zoom level do we then need to recall the raw data. However, in this new format and the way we've engineered everything, what you will find is that the performance of this preview format is much higher. And when I mean performance, it means I can zoom in and it means I can scroll around without it having to rebuild any data. So before, if I went to a shot and let's say I zoomed in over here and I wanted to look at the focus area down here, there would be a slight delay for it to rebuild, which is super annoying, especially if you've got hundreds of pictures to work with and you just want to scan around and see how everything looks. I can go straight over to any part of the picture like so, and super speedy. There's no delay in any of that. And if I'm flicking between, two pictures like so, then it's obviously building a lot quicker. Secondary to that, the size of the preview is also much smaller. Now, depending on megapixels, the size of your preview, we'll look at the preferences in a minute. It's up to half the size. So that's the best you can hope for, is to cut your preview sizes down in half. Now, what this means for, a large catalog, that the catalog will effectively halve in size. So catalogs can get quite big the more you import into them. They take up space on disk. So with this new preview format, let's say your catalog is 10 gig. At best case scenario, you could chop that down to 5 gig, which is, a really, really nice saving. Couple of things to know about this. One, if we look in settings under image, preview image size, so you'll see a recommended amount here. So that's recommended for the kind of resolution that you're working with. I'm on a 5K screen to my right, which you can't see. So my preview image is of 5K, so that if I'm looking at Capture One in full screen, that I've got enough, data to look at. So if I had really tiny previews, like tiddly ones like this, then every time I looked at a picture, Capture One will be going and fetching the raw data, which would slow things down. So Capture One has recommended that I have the highest preview image size available. Preview generation, we've got two options here: optimize for quality and optimize for speed. So what this means is speed is for speed, quality is for quality. So if you have the setting on optimize for speed like I have, there is a tiny, tiny chance you might see some, I don't know how to describe it, maybe overly pixelated or posterized area if you've really mashed the sliders on a picture. So because we're Capture One and everything is about quality, we've also given you a quality option and recommended that. Personally, I've been running it on speed and I haven't come into any issues as yet. And that means the previews generate really, really fast and they're a little bit smaller. If you want quality, they'd take a bit longer to generate and they'd be a bit bigger. But you can play around and experiment and see what works. What you'll need to do if you change this, nothing's going to happen until you go ahead and say regenerate previews, and then the preview will regenerate. Now, to show you that how speedy it is, if I select all of these and say regen, bring up the activity window like so. So this is doing 10 previews in, well, less than 5 seconds, essentially. Not even that, really. Let's do it again and count this time. So regenerate previews. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. So 7 seconds to do 10 pictures. So that's much, much faster than it used to be. So if you've got, big megapixel images and big preview sizes, then you're going to see, a really nice benefit. So I'm making the max size 5,000 pixels. So if you've always been running big previews, then it makes, a big difference. So well worth looking into that. And if you shoot tethered, the previews are going to build much faster as well. So there's no, waiting. Even though it's a background task, we appreciate that some of you obviously find the performance better once the previews are built. So this is much, much quicker as well. But even for that, nice ability to zoom in and then pan around, is super nice. I think someone asked if where's Thomas? Does it update without moving the mouse when you change pictures? Yeah, so the preview is cached. So if I'm flicking between two pictures, then I don't have to wait for any rendering like so. It's full sharpness. So even though this is one of those minor updates, personally I think this is pretty major for the performance benefit when importing and tethering, and also for the size benefit. Yes, storage is cheap, but saving disk space is also nice. Let's see. Thomas said, what happens if multiple people have the Capture One link and they try to edit the star rating? Well, it's going to be, survival of the fittest then. Whoever does the last rating is what sticks. There's only one rating and color tag per picture. So obviously it's up to you, to manage that. So, which is why we have those different levels that someone could rate and someone could tag, or someone could rate and tag, and so on. So you can, manage who does what.